Welcome back to another episode of Getting Personal. I'm here today with Justin, founder and CEO at Barbarian INK. How are you doing today, Justin? It's really great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here, man. I appreciate this opportunity and looking forward to this chat for sure.
Amazing. Before we get into, your personal story and obviously Barbarian INK, being such an active HBAR community member and also co-hosting the Web3 Roundtable, I'd love to get your pulse, like as of today, as of this week, your pulse on the ecosystem, the HBAR NFT ecosystem, and the retail community. Like, what's your pulse? What are you seeing? What are you excited about right now?
I think I'm really excited about the ecosystem tokens, the liquidity that that's bringing in, and the eyes that that's very likely bringing to the NFT ecosystem here on Hedera. I will say, and I at least 4 times or more a week check the the analytics tab on Centex. They have a tracker that shows you the global NFT volume on Hedera for the last 24 hours. And to me, the increase in activity, because there's been quite an increase in activity in terms of volume of HBAR spent per day. To me, it's indicative still that true retail hasn't arrived yet. I think you're seeing a lot of, people like you, people like me, others that have been here, and a little bit of new blood finding wins on either, fungibles, traditional fungibles or, ecosystem tokens here on Hedera, and people are repositioning and reallocating into the NFTs here. So I'm thinking that things are going really well, but I think that we're still quite early. I'm not adding any new capital right now, so to speak, but I am rolling wins that I'm having into more digital assets on Hedera as those wins occur. So I think we have a lot of upside to go, but I think we've got a great foundation. I'm seeing on a social level less infighting, so to speak. I'm seeing, more people than I've seen in a long time kind of joining hands and being willing to go on this ride together, versus maybe 3 to 6 months ago, not so much or not as much. So yeah, overall positive view on the
Nice. Yeah, I
state
think the Web3 Roundtable, the spaces that you co-host, shout out to IPEX, by the way. You run them Monday through Friday, right? And I think that's a testament as well as they grow and you see all these community members coming together. Spaces, like what from your experience with spaces, the power of the spaces of bringing the community together and discussing these different topics. Yeah, could you touch on that a little bit? Like from the time that you've been co-hosting, how do you see spaces bringing value to the community and to Hedera?
Well, it's very hard, on Web3 or even, in any sort of like a long distance relationship to really get a true read on somebody. And I feel like spaces that audio, like being able to hear somebody's voice, how they're delivering a message, how they're speaking, are they confident, this, that, the other, you can at least start to get more towards an IRL vibe on that person. And so I think in a lot of ways, spaces are critical for that. Critical. I know that you do, the videos on your Twitter, where you'll film yourself, stream of consciousness. I feel like that's very important as well. Getting in front of a camera, at least occasionally, going to an IRL event, at least occasionally. Not that there's a ton of those to attend right now. But I think in those ways, spaces really are incredibly important in solving a critical issue that we have here on Web3, which is how do I really know the person that I'm dealing with? How do I build real trust? And I think spaces helps with that. And being consistent with spaces really helps with that.
Yeah, I think they can get I don't want to say addictive, but I have a lot of fun on Spaces, and once you get into
Yeah.
the rhythm, it's I'll be in maybe going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and Ipex's Spaces, the ones you run are quite late, but I still find myself tuning in and jumping on, and it's just it's that coming together, like you say, that touch of the reality that we kind of lack on the timeline, maybe like that merging of in real life with the Web3 and that human connection, right? So yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Yeah.
Yes. There's another one too that I want to give a shout out to Equa, Psyched Era.
Mm.
We do a Spaces Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And those have been growing as well. Like, we've been really happy with the growth with that. We've been doing it for about 6 weeks now, I would say. And we just had a Spaces yesterday, and it had some of the highest attendance we've seen thus far. So,
Amazing.
I think being consistent with it is a huge piece too. If for any of the viewers out there watching this right now that are interested in starting a space or becoming a host or regular co-host,
Mm.
consistency is key. That would be just like a little bit of alpha to put out there for anybody looking to start something like that.
100% agree. Love it. Yeah. Let's shift to you a little bit. Like, even before, before Spaces, before these Web3, Barbarian Inc. and the projects that you're the communities that you're a part of now, who were you before Web3, before Hedera, and what led you into this
Mm.
world?
Yeah. So right before Web3, I had a painting company called Brat & Co. Painting. I'm sure you can still dig up a lot online about this. We were in business for 5.5 years, and I had at the heyday 3 vans, 3 work vans, 4 employees, so 5 of us total, and we were interior, exterior, high end painters, residential. We
Hmm.
did some light commercial stuff. So that's who I was right before, so to speak, Barbarian Inc. But, before that, really, in a lot of ways, I feel like I was very lost. I was still trying to figure out who I was as a person. I'm coming up on 13 years in recovery, April 2nd of 2024. It's 13 years in recovery for me. And so, a lot of this journey, the first half of that journey for me was kind of figuring out who I am, because I had really lost that identity. So
Mm.
actually, I was in jewelry for many years, and I actually became a diamantologist through the Gemological Institute of America. I went to New York, and I studied there and became certified in that. And I actually worked in the jewelry industry for, approximately 5 years,
Hmm.
across like a slew of different companies, just the retail side of things. So I got some experience in sales and whatnot, but that's a huge part of my journey too. And like a lot of my photos that you'll see, or if I'm doing a video or whatever, I wear a lot of jewelry. Not a lot, but like
Yeah.
jewelry is a big part of my life too, and so I think it's worth mentioning that as well. Yeah.
Cool. And what led you to Hedera, and why Hedera?
So it's interesting, actually. Our original community dev, Poncho, he actually came to me early on and said we were looking at building on Ethereum. And he was like, look, man, I really think that we need to check out Hedera, um, you know, jump into some of these Discord channels. Let's explore this. I think you might really like the community. And, I think for me, it wasn't even initially the community that grabbed me. But anywho, I took his advice and I started exploring and digging into Hedera. And what I realized, and I've said this a few times, so for people that have already heard this, I apologize, but I really viewed Hedera as Division 1 basketball. It's incredibly difficult, incredibly challenging, but more plausible to find success in than making it to the NBA. and I viewed Ethereum as the NBA. And as somebody that was an unproven founder, an unknown entity, I felt like a move onto Hedera made the most sense for somebody that was just getting started on this Web3 journey themselves. And then, yeah, of course, there was a little bit of influence from the fact that it was a very intellectual chain. I was going into some of these discords, and everybody was just very intelligent. And that spoke to me. I instantly felt like I wasn't the smartest person in the room. Then, after being here, choosing to build here, being here for 2 or 3 months, that's when I started to actually fall into love with the community, and really, now for me, there's like no escape. Like, I'm obsessed. Like, I really, I am. Like, I love, the way the social dynamics work on Hedera. Not everybody does. I do. It just clicks with me and who I am. So that's why I came, and that's why I've stayed.
Tell me a little bit more about what you mean when you say social dynamics.
It's important here to be mindful of others. It's important. It is, it's important to concern yourself with how your words are going to make somebody else feel. There's just this level of personal here that there's like depth and weight to what's going on Hedera socially. And that speaks to me. I think there's a lot of real people here, going out to LA, going out to New York to help Orbis 86, Sonia, with a conference that she ran on behalf of Hedera Foundation, meeting a lot of these people IRL, especially out in LA. That was where I met the most people IRL, but met a few in New York as well. That really kind of solidified that. A lot of what I'm coming to this interview today with, a lot of this, my opinions, the knowledge that I have now, or that I feel that I have now, took a while to compile. It's based on a multitude of experiences that I've had up till this point. And so I think with the LA thing, it really brought it full circle. But I started to pick up on that depth and weight, 2-3 months in as well. People here really interested in forming friendships, relationships. So that's kind of what I mean. And I don't know if it's quite like that on other chains or other DLTs. I could be mistaken, but yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. When I started myself on Ethereum, and coming to Hedera, I definitely felt that shift in the way, people interact, and like you say, they're more thoughtful. There's just a different depth to the relating, right, and the building. So yeah, I think you're on point. And I'm happy. I'm happy that we're building on this chain together, because
yeah, me too.
It's definitely enjoyable. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Barbarian INK, shall we? For those maybe hearing about it for the first time, how did it start, and what's the vision?
It really started with the Lost Ones, the concept of the Lost Ones for me, which is a text-based choose your own adventure game. And for me, that was now I had been formulating a lot of this before, ever, coming out with the community founders passes or teasing that art. But for me, it really started with that concept there, looking to proof of concepts like Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which is a movie on Netflix where, depending on choices you make within that film, it determines the type of film that you watch.
Yeah.
I know, great experience, like media experience. Also, I love Black Mirror in general too. Also, the Goosebumps childhood horror story book series, they had a portion called Choose Your Own Scare. And basically, and there were a few other ones, the Hardy Boys. I don't know if you remember the Hardy Boys.
No, but I read that Goosebump one, the Choose Your Scare.
Yes, they came out with a bunch of them, and they basically, depending on the choices that you make in that book, it deduces the type of storyline experience you have, as a reader. And I think that, that's really what planted the seed for me. I've always circled back to that in terms of, what really influenced me on the Lost Ones. It was also an artist that I had met through a project on Ethereum that I had invested in during 2021. The quality of his art was very inspirational to me. So, we ended up staying in touch, and throughout, post, 2021, and, we started to kick around this idea of maybe doing something together. So I think it was really, the beginnings of Barbarian INK were really based on this incredible artist and this powerful, inspiration that I drew from that. Because there's no denying Elixon, incredible. His full name's Elixon Valoria. He's out of Venezuela. Unbelievable artist. Unbelievable. Along with these pre-existing kind of concepts that I had, that's really what planted the seed. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. I think it's really beautiful that you can find an artist that can bring your idea and vision to manifest, right? To into existence. Such a magical process.
Yeah, because for a while there, it was like the art was leading. It was like, okay, look at this art that I've done. What can we do with this?
Love it.
You know what I mean? Like, how can we puzzle piece this into something? Because he had an original 6 character races. Like, he had, maybe at some point we'll do some sort of like an NFT release or something of like old school documents from like back in the day when Barbarian INK was first starting. He had these character races. They ended up looking nothing like that. I love how they ultimately ended up turning out. But yeah, I think for a short period of time there, the art was leading the cart, not the Lost Ones, and so, yeah, I'm grateful that we still talk. We're in good terms. And we can dig into that more. We've since moved on from him, but we still talk and are good friends. So it's nice.
Love it. Let's talk challenges for a second. What would you say if you had to pick one? Because I know as founders and navigators of this new world, right, Web3, there's lots of challenges that we go through. But if you had to pick your biggest challenge so far in Web3, what would it be?
Honestly, the biggest challenge for sure, is actually what happened most recently. We had an issue with the artist we brought on post Elixon. We did some reverse image searches after some of the community had brought concerns to us. And it became clear that some of this IP was not his. And this was that was the biggest challenge. I gotta be real, man. Like, I actually went on to Web3 Roundtable when it all was unfolding, and I actually broke down crying, which I regret to this day. I'm like embarrassed about it, this and that, but it was real, it was it was so counter to everything that Barbarian INK is supposed to be. That and the trust that I had with this individual, it was a knife to the heart. It was by far the most difficult thing that I've ever walked through, I would say. I actually, prior to, we talked about this briefly, this Brat & Co. painting, I actually shut that company down to go full-time Web3. So, my family has skin in the game with this, my husband and my household, like, Barbarian INK is very important to me. So that was by far, figuring out how to pivot. And you know what I ended up deciding? There's nothing to figure out here. Be real.
Yeah.
Talk about how this makes you feel. Just be real. Don't think vibe only. vibe only, go out to the community, own your role. I should have been reverse image searching all of these things from the beginning. I should have been reverse image searching Elixon's art. You know, this was not, my hands were not completely clean either. So it's like, own your shit and keep it real. You know, and I think hearkening back to what we were talking about with how Hedera is socially a little bit different, keeping it real is very important here. It's very important. So, but that was emotionally, and in a lot of ways financially, specifically in regards to Barbarian INK, like the most difficult thing, you know, that I've had to go through, because there are refunds now associated with that. We are proceeding with refunds on that. We can dig into details on that if you'd like. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered my next question, which was, you know, because I've seen this happen to others and different things, you know, but these challenges that go so deep, right? How to navigate and come back from that as a founder. But I think, you know, you said keeping it real and taking accountability. That's what I heard from you right now. And anything else that you've found helpful for anyone else that may be going through, you know, something similar? How do you come back from something like that?
I think it's really important to compensate people. And I know that might be difficult for some individuals, but it's really important to refund if it's like similar to the situation that I'm going through, to make people whole and to make a real effort at doing so. Continuing to remain incredibly available.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get skittish here. It's very easy. I'm an investor too. And if issues happen, which, you know, issues are normal, but if issues happen and then I don't see you for a week or two, avoid that. Like, if anything, double down on your presence on Twitter, double down on your presence in spaces. Don't be afraid, at least for the first few weeks following that, to remind people what happened and what you're doing to fix it. Because to me, I think it's low-key really suspicious if this thing happens and then it's like it never gets talked about again. You know, so every H Barbarian Club Town Hall, we have a weekly Club Town Hall that we do every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not trying to shill it, but I might as well put the timestamp in there. I've brought this up. I've talked about this. I've dug into it. You know, reminder, this is how we're doing the refunds. This is approximately when we're doing the refunds. You know, this is why, you know, this is how we're pivoting, you know, this, that, the other. And just make sure to not run. Immediately following this occurring, I actually opened a spaces post the Web3 Roundtable that day and made myself available to the community. And I'd had definitely some tough questions that I had to answer. Why hadn't I been reverse image searching? Why had an individual come to me a month to 2 months prior warning me, and I did nothing about that? You know what I mean? And I did do some stuff. I confronted Triz. It happened to do with some AI generated reference art. And there was a choice that I had to make of who do I trust? Is Triz telling the truth that this individual knew that he was going to use this AI generated art? Or is this gentleman telling the truth when he says, no, he did not tell me that this is what he was using this for? And, you know, backing the wrong horse and then needing to own that consequence down the road. Like, I brought that up. That could have remained buried. And I actually called the individual IRL on his phone and apologized as well. And he was like, we don't need to make this a big thing. And I was like, honestly, you know, and this isn't a publicity stunt either. I told him that too. I'm like, you deserve this. You know, you know, so I just think that unpacking don't leave any skeletons in the closet. For sure.
Yeah, it's all how you respond, right, to the situation. I think that's what I'm hearing, and yeah, we're all going to go through shit, right? And it's how we
Yeah.
respond to that really counts. Let's look into the future. Let's dream a little bit. Um, where would you like to see Barbarian Inc. yourself in, let's say, 5 years, 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, the huge passion part of this project for me at this point is our art house. We've begun to foray into becoming a launch pad for in real life artists that are interested in onboarding their physical work into the Web3 NFT ecosystem, specifically on Hedera. Like, and I always stress that at the end, specifically on Hedera. That I see becoming an increasingly huge positive thing for Hedera. That through Barbarian INK, specifically through Barbarian INK. That's really my dream of where I see us in 3 to 5 years, is a burgeoning art house, our OG collections having a lot of respect among collectors on Hedera, just in regards to quality of art. And yeah, I think that's the big thing. I definitely am also interested in, at some point, and I hesitated there because not quite sure if I wanted to, bring this up, but I'm an avid trader. It's really what I rely on for my income. Okay. And for a few years now, I've been consistently profitable. It's taken a hell of a long time to get to that point. It's something that if you are going to get involved in it, anybody watching, really take it seriously and commit real time and effort to learning before you jump in. So tethering that in some way to Barbarian INK, long term, over the next 3 to 5 years, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in exploring that and looking at that as a potential way to add value while also just playing into just who I am and what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis organically. Because I think that the longevity here, Timothy, comes from having whatever it is that you're working on or running or building fit into your life. That's the key. You have to make sure that it puzzle pieces in a way that is sustainable. And yeah, and to be honest, not to go off on a complete tangent here, it's part of why I've been loving the spaces. The spaces with Psychedera, the spaces with IPEX. It keeps me researching and analyzing, macroeconomics, all of that stuff, the major indices, TradFi, what's going on with Bitcoin, what's going on with Ethereum. I'm already doing these things, but it turns it up. It turns the volume up on that. So making sure that Barbarian INK has, plays in a similar way for me long term, is important, and part of my outlook for the next 3 to 5 years is ensuring that it remains a good fit for me.
Some wisdom right there. For sure. The art house. I'm curious. You talk about bringing physical art, right, to Web3. Do you see yourself having a physical art house as well, like in real life?
No. But maybe doing something digital. Maybe doing something digital. We're working with this phenomenal woman right now, like true Web2 artist, like a true IRL artist, like somebody that like has no clue about Web3, which is exactly the type of client that we've been trying to bring on. So, and I bring her up because, this is the third person that we'll have brought through the art house. And so I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of exploring like a physical space or even a digital space. But it's something that has been discussed. It's something that we've thought about doing. We'll see. And I think that's part of what I'm excited about is, the art house, it's not fully formed yet. It's exciting to see where this is going to lead and where this is going to go. And I think right now the priority for me and for the team is continuing to feed high quality artists through that art house. Now, we had a few issues with the last couple artists, and a lot has been done to ensure that things like that do not occur in the future. The first one was, an individual that came through. The ironic thing is both mints went phenomenal. They minted out. The community loved it. Like, they loved the art. Huge support. Everybody's really vibing what we're doing. But issues with the individuals, post mint, and with this artist who came after Elixon, he actually put a collection through the art house as well, which also had IP issues. So I think that's our priority right now, Timothy, is making sure that we have a series of incredibly successful mints that remain successful post mint. Like, no, like, let's cross that bridge first.
Yeah.
Let's get through that. We have deemed, I don't know if you know this, but we deemed a while back a small subsection of the community founders passes, the zombies, the spirits, and any one of ones that we did, as rev share NFTs associated with the art house. So 20% of every mint that goes through that art house post launchpad fees gets distributed equally amongst, I believe it's 41 NFTs. And those have all gone through. We've proven, hey, yeah, we actually distribute those funds. So people are, I think that's maintain the course for a little bit longer and then explore maybe doing like a physical or a digital space to display these collections, and what else can we do with this, and where can we take this. It's kind of like, don't put the cart before the horse, so to speak, is kind of where we're at this point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the mind is always way far. It's just way into the future, right? I'm thinking physical spaces, and the options are
that's the way, though, right? Timothy. That's the way. For sure. You want to at least be dabbling in it, dabbling in projecting and exploring, so that when you do start to get to that point where you're going to cross that bridge, you already have some, half formed to fully formed thoughts and ideas of where you want to go.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
yeah.
Bringing our attention back to this year, the current year, 2024, what do we have coming? What are you most excited about?
I would say the art house, man. I think this is really our time to show what we can do. I think this next artist is going to blow people out of the water.
All right.
Yup. It's I don't say that lightly, because you can build up expectations very easily and then have it, fall short. But this is next level. This is a professional photographer that has been doing this for many, many years, as they're living. This is a person that we have never been exposed to before. The last two artists that we brought through are kind of a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. They were known to Hedera at the time of their mint. This is a true proof of concept for us, where this person is true Web 2 coming to Web 3. I think that's what I'm most excited about for 24, is really showing people, what we can do with that. And then, not related to Barbarian INK, I'm very, very excited to see where this consistent participation in spaces leads for me. I think that there's a lot of doors that can open long term if you really grind that and you stay consistent with that, and you continue to hone your craft, because it really is, it is a process to get to a point where you can be in a space with 80 people to 100 people, and it feels like there's 10 people in that space. That's really the place that you need to get to, and even more so, like you look at Mario Newfall, and he's just like who he is, whether 5,000 people are in the space or 500 people are in the space. So I think 2024 excites me in that way as well, to see where my craft goes in regards to spaces. Really,
Yeah, I love that. Going back to what we were saying, the power of spaces, like that networking element, and how many doors can open just in a split second. Just jumping on a space for 10 minutes, you never know who you're gonna meet. You just never know, right?
yeah, it's true. It's true. And it also gives you an opportunity to talk about the people that you believe in. It's special. It's really special, and it's important to like not let it go to your head, to take it seriously, to understand that it gets to that point where it matters what you say and how you say it. Yeah.
That's the perfect segue. What you said about talking about others and other, people that you support or that you like. I want to put you on the spot for this last question. Which projects within Hedera are you most bullish on? I know there's probably a long list, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, there is. There's a very long list. And I want to make it clear before I say this, there are many, and so many will not be mentioned right now. Otherwise, it's just going to completely spiral. But for me, I'm actually most bullish on utility NFTs. So, Web3 Yacht Club, their Commodore cards. I'm very bullish on those. Woke Femmes, with their NFT analytics tools that they open the door to on Discord. The upcoming Defiance Mint, that's going to open the door to DeFi analytics tools on Discord and outside of Discord as well. There's a couple collections that I have my eye on as well that I suspect may have utility in the near future. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Like, that's really kind of, what I'm keeping my eyes on. I think that's the future. I think tethering NFTs to real world utility is critical here.
Yep.
And that's why I'm just touching upon a few of, oh my God, many. There's so much to talk about and unpack here. Another thing I look to is art. Houdini with his AI art is just, it's that really speaks to me. I'm a big collector of Houdini. MRAC has these passes that give you a 20% discount on utilizing any of the tools on his launchpad. These are the types of NFTs that I'm collecting and trying to, hold on to for the cycle. Hopefully I can. You know what I mean? It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But utility NFTs, and I'm open to seeing others or being exposed to others that, even like the RevShare NFTs on my community founders passes collection, like those are ones that if I were outside, I've got a couple of them, like 2 of them, but if I were an outside investor looking in, I would go for those, So that's kind of how I've been moving and what's been speaking to me of late in regards to what I'm bullish on.
Love it. Is there anything at all that we haven't touched on, or anything I haven't asked that you would like to be asked? And if so, tell me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about this before there's like a minute or two before we actually hit record, that, I brought this up to you. I seized the opportunity to say, hey, hold on one second. There is something that I want to reveal. So we have made a decision. Really, I have, with the support of most of the team. We've got the vast majority of the team. There's 1 out of 4 or 5 people that are not vibing this. We're going to be abbreviating the Lost Ones. Okay. So what we're going to do, we ended up bringing on Jordan, a phenomenal AI artist, phenomenal. And he redid this tools collection for us that had been done by this artist that we had to let go due to IP infringement, post Elixon. So he came in, he redid the tools. So we're going to do something with that does not cost anybody any HBARs. And we are going to end the game early, abbreviate the game. So the details on exactly how that's going to go, not quite figured out or polished enough. This is actually just unfolded over the last 24 hours, honestly. So Jordan's very much on board. We've got, Lady H is supportive and gets it. She's like, no, I hear you. I want to explain a little bit why I'm doing this. We had a community developer early on. Things didn't work out with. I was very close with this person. Okay, that was very difficult emotionally. It was just difficult emotionally. He's cool. We're cool. It was a difficult thing for me to walk through. Losing Elixon, he actually came to me and said, hey, my heart's not in this anymore. I'm not really vibing, this. I want to go do what I want to do with my art and have more freedom, because really what you're asking of me is quite specific. Each collection is very specific what you're looking for. There's not a lot of artistic freedom here, room to breathe. He was an original founder of this project with me. It was very difficult for me to walk through, very scary for me to walk through. And then, finding Triz, and, this is somebody that I had become quite close with leading up to this point. And having that trust broken, and, also making a lot of mistakes myself surrounding that, not reverse image searching the art, huge gaffe on my part. Backing the wrong horse during that initial, somebody bringing this to me. But long story short, it's really taken that light and love out of the picture for me, specifically in regards to the Lost One. So the Lost Ones, which is this text-based game. And I want to, as a founder, I want to, as somebody that really wears Barbarian INK as a badge of honor. I want to be bringing to you things that my heart is in, and that I'm able to just unequivocally give 1,000% of me to. So, and that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening anymore. And I think that my holders deserve that from me. There's a few things too, like our community founders passes. We've always said from day one, it's very important for us to protect the value of that collection. That's very much going to continue. The only thing we're doing is like shortening the ride, in terms of, the Lost Ones. We've got this massive prize pool associated with it that will be distributed to the top 15 people that grinded on this game harder than anybody else. That was always the way. The first 15 people to complete this game will get a portion of this prize pool. That's going to be followed through on. The refund on the old tools collection, that's going to be followed through on. The refund on, the Triztaz art house, that's going to be followed through on. The HBAR is already set aside. It's already set aside. We have all but 6 of the 15 art houses associated with Tinfoil Paul refunded. You're going to see me in spaces later today. You're going to see me in spaces tomorrow. You're going to see me in the Discord. This is the furthest thing from us walking away from the project, or me. I'll talk about me. It's the furthest thing from that, and the team is very much here for it. So that is something that I wanted to touch upon. And we're We'll have some sneaks soon of this woman that we've been working with, Courtney. Like everything is continuing as it was supposed to. Outside of these last few collections, with the lost ones being released. So, I think that's very important to get that out there. I'm going to talk about it in my Club Town Hall this week. It was something that I originally proposed when the issues first arose with this most recent artist that we had to let go. And so it's not like a new concept, but it's time. It's time for me to double down on the things that my heart are in within Barbarian INK, which is the community. It's the CFP collection. It's the rev share NFTs. It's, it's the art house. This is really, and how can I, in a way that my heart is in it, so like, let's look to trading, let's look to maybe doing like a physical gallery or a digital gallery. Like, how else can we add value here? How else can we cement and protect these NFTs that people have chosen to purchase up till this point? So, I definitely did want to run through all of that, and it's very important that starts to be talked about, because it is a shift. It was one thing that was considered. The other thing was, picking up with Jordan and continuing through. He's very supportive of this as well. So it's important to start talking about it, because that's what we're gonna do.
That sounds like evolution to me.
Yeah.
You're doing your best. You're doing your best to navigate all of these moving parts. That's how it feels to me. And and also following where your heart is or where it's going, right?
Yeah. I think that is what is most likely to make my community money. Is making sure that I am in this for years, and that my passion and my focus is harnessed and utilized and put towards something that really has an opportunity to have a high impact on the project. And that was the Lost Ones. That was the Lost Ones for a while, and through a series of unfortunate events and a failure on my part to reverse image search, and I want to completely put this on others. That has faded. So I appreciate that, Timothy. And that's very much how I'm looking at it. That's very much how, several others in my life and in my work life on Web3 are looking at it. And we're moving forward with confidence here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been inspiring to hear your story, learn more about, where you're at and where you're going. And I'm excited for this to go out to the community. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate this a lot. Thank you. This was great.